Business Growth Talks podcast is created and hosted by Mark Hayward. In this show, we talk about how to grow a business in the growth stage. The growth stage is often marked by rapid developments, increased revenue, and an escalating customer base. In each episode, we talk to entrepreneurs and business owners who have grown businesses, and we cover topics like scaling processes, market expansion, financial management, human resource and talent development, and customer retention. If you are looking for actionable advice, tips, and techniques on how to grow, run and build your business, this is the podcast for you.
Welcome to Business Growth Talks. In today's episode, we do a deep dive into the heart of profitability and personal success and what the essence of financial wisdom is with Rocky. Rocky is the Chief Profitability Advisor dedicated to helping business owners navigate the journey towards sustainable profitability without sacrificing their values and their well-being. Rocky came to the US at 2 years old and when his parents were 40. Rocky overcame the tragedy of losing his mother at a young age. Rocky is a certified practitioner of the book Profit First. He prioritizes profit, but never at the expense of people. We will talk today about accounting, managing cash flow, and understanding wealth, but emphasizing the importance of harmony and life in balance. If you're enjoying this content, please do consider subscribing and go to www.businessgrowth.com for more information. Welcome, Rocky. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me, Mark.
Thank you so much. So, as we were just saying before we hit record, you were on the previous show and I had the opportunity to have you back on. And I had such a great conversation with you that I thought with the new format, it would be great to have you on. So thank you and welcome to the show. The first question I ask all of my guests is, what does a business mindset mean to you?
So I think there's a couple things there. My first question, though, is what is the purpose of business?
That's a very good question.
And let's just be clear on what it is. It's to make a profit.
Yeah.
We go into business to make money. Let's be honest. If you're not making money, you don't have a business. You have a hobby. So let's just be clear on that. Now, I think the second part of that is a lot of people think they went into business. What they did was build themselves a job, right? And that's okay. I've done that, right? That's where I'm at. I'm okay with that. Be clear on what you want from your business and then reverse engineer that business to suit your needs, right? Business should be fun. It shouldn't be hard. It should be enjoyable. And the business is supposed to serve you. You are not supposed to be a slave to the business. And so you have to think through all of these things, I think, ahead of time and say, what do I want? And how does my business now serve those needs that I have chosen for me? And then at the end of the day, your job is to make sure that it is profitable, that it does pay you a reasonable wage, and that when you make a capital investment into your business, that it's actually giving you a return. Because no one's going to make an investment into your business and not expect a return. Why should you?
So it's interesting because entrepreneurs, business owners, for me, split into two different categories, and I'm sure there are more, but lifestyle. So people start a business because they want it to support their lifestyle, kids, travel, whatever it is. And then there's empire builders. There's the other end that people want to build the biggest business they can, whether that's millions, billions, whatever it is. And would you agree with that, with your experience working in business?
I think that's pretty encompassing. The question I have for the empire builders is why? Like, why are you doing that? Are you going to give up your whole life to build an empire business? Especially if you have a family. Because at the end of the day, it really sucks when your spouse comes along and takes half your empire and kicks you out and the kids don't talk to you. And you can look around at a lot of empire builders and ask yourself, how many of them are still married? Yeah, so be careful what you want.
Yeah, and recently I finished the Elon Musk biography by Walter Isaacson. And he is a prime example of an empire builder, but someone that, like they talked about, that his life needed to have chaos, needed to have drama. And that was in his business life, on how he went in, and they called it a purge, which was then like doing everything in a week rather than doing it in a month. Or his relationships with his wives and his children has always been rocky. When I listened to that, I thought to myself, that's not what I want. So I'm 43, nearly 44 years old. I've got two young kids. I've got a wonderful wife. I've got a house, a dog. That's not what I want. And it's very interesting because probably at an earlier age, that's probably what I would have wanted. I do think age and wisdom changes people's perspectives on that whole idea of whether they want to be an empire builder.
I think it does, especially for guys, right? We're young and full of testosterone and know it all, and then we realize, oh, okay.
Yeah, I think we do. I think we do realize that, and just being able to get that. See, I hate the word work-life balance. I don't believe we can actually achieve it.
Can I tell you a story about that?
Yeah, of course you can.
We use the word harmony,
Right.
okay? Because let's face it, life played well is like a wonderful song. But when you listen to music, there's different parts to the music, right? Sometimes the vocals are loud. Sometimes the drummer's up. Sometimes it's a guitarist. Sometimes it's the piano. Sometimes there's other instruments going on. Sometimes there's a whole chorus. That's the way your life is, right? Sometimes your kids are sick. Sometimes your wife wants you to go away. Sometimes your business needs your extra work. The question is, how do you put those parts together to play the song of your life that you want to listen to, and that's not like screechy and horrible? So yeah, there are times that different parts are going to come to the front. There's different parts are going to go to the back. Play the song you want to hear.
Yeah, that's a lovely idea. All right, moving on. Tell me one thing about your upbringing which reflects on who you are today.
So there's a couple of things that I didn't realize weren't normal until I was much older.
Okay.
We talked about money when we were kids. Like there was family conversations around money and how to use it wisely. And my parents would talk to other people about money. So within our groups, people were talking about money. I didn't realize people didn't talk about money. The other thing is we were also taught how to negotiate and how to live a 5-star life on a 1-star budget, right? So how do you do that? And then how do you save and build wealth? Like, how do you look at all of these different things? So I came to realize much, much later in life that people weren't taught any of this. And it's funny because I have a degree in economics, I have an MBA, and I sat back and I realized, oh yeah, they didn't teach me any of this there either. So school doesn't teach money very well. If your parents didn't teach you money, which most parents do not teach money, and then people wonder why they struggle so much.
I think that's absolutely right. It's one of my bugbears is that the schooling system encourages you to go through the schooling system, higher education, and then get a job. And it doesn't give people the idea or the thought that actually starting a business, running a business, even being a freelancer, if that's what you want to do, it's all geared for you to get a job. Why do you think that is?
Because that's what it was designed for, right? It was designed to create workers. That's simple. And if you think about when it was designed, the morning bell wasn't different than the factory bell. Go where you're told, sit at your station, do what you're told. We don't want you to think. We'll tell you what to think and what to read and when to do it and when to eat and how to behave. And it was designed for that. Whether that was evil or not, or I don't know, I don't really care. But that's the model and that's what you get.
I don't think it's evil. I think it's just it doesn't have a balanced outlook, and the schools aren't doing it. It has to rely on the parents to be able to do this. But just furthering that on about wealth, I think the wealth is like wealth creation is something that we should be teaching our children. The whole idea that a 401k or a pension pot is not the only way to be able to invest and create wealth. What's your views on how we should be creating wealth?
So I don't think government wants you to be wealthy, because if you're wealthy, you don't need government, right? In a
Okay.
sense. I, Building wealth is really not difficult, but I think the problem we encounter is a whole bunch of social pressure. So the social pressure to save money, to mimic what other people are doing, to spend money. At the end of the day, it really comes down to something simple. Either you're going to build wealth and get wealthy, or someone else is going to build wealth and get wealthy because you gave them all your money. And there are a lot of societal forces on the side of the guy or gal who wants to be wealthy and lets everyone else sucker you into being the slave.
And most economies want people to spend money, don't they? They don't want them to save them or invest them. It's all about being able to spend to keep the GDP up and build the government's coffers rather than the individuals.
You have to choose how you want to play the game.
Exactly. Your mind, so let's go on to Profit First, which you're a certified Profit First advisor. So why do you think implementing Profit First is different from traditional accounting? And why do you think it can change people's lives, business owners' lives?
So this was my biggest aha. I assumed that business owners understood the business of business. And what I realized was, oh my God, they're people. And they're people who were trained in those schools who behave the same way people do who aren't in business. And they don't understand how to build wealth in their company and how to build finances, right? So they're told, hey, sales minus your expenses, all your spending equals your profit. So where's profit in the equation?
At the end.
At the end. Accountants, they're not taught how to build wealth. They're taught how to put stuff on spreadsheets or paper ledger based on a standard that was designed, I think, in the 14 or 1500s, strictly to keep track of who owes me money and who do I owe money to. The government just wants it done this way for one sole purpose. Whatever that profit number is, that's what you pay us taxes on. So that's all they care about. And what came out in the book, and it's basically the same concept as pay yourself first, is sales minus profit equals expenses. So if you want a 10 or 20% profit margin, take your 20% up front and figure out how to run your business on that constraint and keep it there, right? It's basically pay yourself first, live within your budget, spend less than you make. These are principles that have been around forever. And even the way Profit First allocates money is the same principles that have been around for over hundreds of years of, hey, you get your money and you get your dollars or pounds or whatever you have, and you allocate your money for what the purpose is. So in the old days, your grandparents, your great grandparents, they got their paycheck and they took some money and they put it aside for rent. And they took some money and they put it aside for food. And they took some money and they put it aside for something else that the family needed. Maybe they put it in an envelope. Maybe they put it in a jar or a box. And when that money ran out, they stopped spending. They didn't have credit cards to just keep swiping and going into debt. And that's what Profit First does. It takes the money in the business. It says, what's its purpose? And it puts it in a bank account for that purpose. And when you run out of money in that bank account, you're either going to have to figure out how to make more or how to spend less. And that's all it is. It's a constraint system based on Parkinson's law. And all Parkinson's law says is you will use up as much time and as money as allocated. So whatever you allocate, that's what's getting used up.
How did you get involved with Profit First?
So I was actually doing stuff on the personal finance side. I'm like, look, I know how to build wealth. It's really not difficult. I can show people, even average people who don't make a ton, how to become a millionaire. And people didn't want to listen to me. They didn't want to listen to me for a couple of reasons. One, they wanted to become millionaires this weekend, and I told them I couldn't do that. Right. And so that was the biggest problem. And so I was struggling to figure out, how do I help people? How do I do this? And I got introduced to this concept that business owners are bad with their finances. I'm like I said before, that aha just blew my mind. I realized that business owners were just behaving like the people they are. And this was a way, using the same principles I had used my whole life to build wealth, but now apply it to a business owner. And the difference between a business owner and a person who doesn't own a business is a business owner is willing to invest to get a return on investment. A person doesn't really see that or think that way when they have a job. So it was just a different mindset. The principles worked. I now found a market that people were willing to pay and wanted that help in, because they needed to make payroll. They need to be successful. It was resting on their shoulders, and they knew they had to do something. And so it was like a perfect marriage for us.
And what's your risk appetite for investing, for your business and things? What for you? What has it changed over the years? And so, how would you define your risk appetite?
Warren Buffett, I like low risk. I like very low risk. Why are we taking a risk? Like, I know people are told, oh, you got to take a big risk to earn a big reward. They probably taught that in school because they had no clue. Why can't you take a little risk and make a big reward?
But don't you think for entrepreneurs and business owners that the whole essence of being one is that you have to take a risk to start a business, because 90% of businesses in the first couple of years fail? I think it's embedded in being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, that whole idea of risk, because it's on your responsibility, not on a big corporate or another or someone else's business.
So if we look at a lot of Silicon Valley companies, or just companies in general, didn't most of them start in a garage?
Oh, yeah.
So how much risk is there to start a business in your garage? You didn't bet the house on it, right?
Mm, mm.
You go out and you start and you test the market. There's no
Yeah.
risk in testing the market. Okay, maybe it's $1,000. That's not really risk, is it? To me, trying $1,000 at an experiment isn't really a risk, especially because you could take it apart and maybe you could get 500 back on that risk. And I think this is where we get it wrong. We think we have to take these big risks because we're conditioned for that. I don't think you do. I think you constantly test, try, see the result, pivot, continue to do that. I don't think you need to take a massive risk. That's just the way I look at things. And if you want to keep betting on 1 to 50 odds, have at it. But as you said, if you're betting on 1 to 50 odds, 98% of you are going to fail. Good luck, especially if you bet at all, because now you have nothing. Why not go bet on a 1-to-1 odd or something much more? And if you test it out and you see, there are ways to build businesses without spending money and take zero risk and have high rewards. So I'm not against high rewards. I love high rewards. I just don't believe you need to take high risk to get high rewards.
And has that risk appetite changed, or have you always felt that through 20s and 30s, etc.?
I think I have always felt that way. I've been somebody who always tries to figure out the risk reward. And because of that, I've really struggled a lot because I look around and go, why are people doing this? This makes no sense to me. And the problem is things don't blow up quickly. The normal business cycle is 7 years, 10 years. Enron didn't blow up until it was massive. All these companies, you can hide a lot for quite a while. And that's just the reality of it. And then eventually they blow up. Look at WeWork. They classic example of that. And the reality is most of us are not Uber. We can't get 15 years of people supporting our losses, right? The average guy can't do that. If you're lucky enough to, great. Congratulations. Most people can't.
And that this is a slight diversion, but I always think when I speak to people and I hear these ideas of, oh, we've just got investment and people are high-fiving and celebrating that they've just got investment. That doesn't mean you've succeeded. That literally means you've got a stepping stone to be successful. And this is one of my big frustrations with entrepreneurs. They think that whole idea we need to get an investment in the business and then it's success. That doesn't mean success, does it?
No. So if you look at the world of venture capital, which is who's making these investments, right?
Yeah.
They understand the game of odds. So venture capitalists understand that if I'm going to make 10 bets, 3 or 4 of them are going to go bankrupt and I'm going to get 0 return. Okay. The next 3 or 4 are going to break even. And for investment capital, if you break even, they're going to whip you to make more until you're dead. That's just what they do. So now we're left with the last 3 or so. And out of the last 3, 2 might make a decent business, but investment bankers don't want decent business. Private equity doesn't want decent business. Private equity wants that one unicorn that's blowing it out. So even though you're doing well, you're like the horse pulling the carriage going along, and the guy in the carriage is going to be whipping you to go faster. And going back to the beginning, I don't want to be whipped. So if the odds are 90% not good, 10% great, and that's only for the good investment bankers, right? There's so many investment bankers that lose it all. So the odds are even worse. This is not a game I want to play. At the end of the day, you make money when you sell stuff. People forget that. You start in a new business. What do? I need a website and a business card and a cell phone and a fancy truck and a nice office. The hell you do. You need to pick up the phone and get somebody to buy something.
Yes. Yes. Sales is the lifeblood of businesses. You need, if it's not you as a salesperson, you need to be able to hire great people that can sell your product or service.
Correct. But again, if you're relying on somebody else to sell for you, you've got a problem. Because they're the ones who, in a sense that they're the ones with all the power, right?
Yeah, I suppose from my point, I think that in most cases, the founder, the business owner, is probably going to be the best person to sell.
They are.
Because they know their business inside and out. They know their domain. They know their area that they're talking to their clients about. And if they understand the client's pain points, and they can provide a service or product that supplies that, you're the best positioned. But I do know a lot of people that just aren't comfortable selling. And they've been able to be successful because they brought people in that could do that missing aspect that they weren't comfortable or just didn't want to do. So I think you're right in that the founder is probably the best positioned for it. But if you're not capable or don't want to, you can bring other people in on maybe on a commission-based own basis that can do a great job to be able to sell your product or service.
They can, but I think you as the founder need to figure out what your value proposition is. And then you can turn that value proposition over to someone else to run it. At the end of the day, if we're running a business, we're not doing it all. We're hiring people to wear all the different hats. No doubt about that. But I think, especially in the beginning, it's usually the founder who understands the vision At the end of the day, you look at Apple, he was the visionary who said, this is what we're going to provide. This is what we're going to do. And he might not be talking to the end user, but he's selling the vision. So I think the founder has either got to be able to sell that vision or at least be able to find somebody to help them sell that vision.
Yeah. Can you think of a case study where implementing profit first has dramatically changed the business trajectory?
So it's not so much that it changes the business trajectory. What changes is the amount of cash that comes out of the business. And so most businesses, what they do is they look at profit as an event. So I'll be profitable when I hit 1 million in sales. I'll be profitable when I hit 10 million. Or we're going to take our profits and we're going to plow it back into the business. Okay? Because we need to keep doing that. So the question really comes down to is, when are you going to be profitable? When are you going to remove the profit for that wife and kids to enjoy the life you want to live? If you're going to put money back into a business, then you should treat that as an investment. Just like if I came to you and said, Mark, I want you to invest in my business, you're not just going to go, here's money because I just throw money at businesses because one day I'll get it back. No, you have expectations and terms. How often do we do that for ourselves? And so what Profit First does is it creates that discipline. And I work with business owners who've been in for 20 years who have always struggled. And all of a sudden they start to see the returns. They start to sit and have reserve accounts. They start to see their cash build up. And I always wait for the day when this question happens. Because one day the question is going to be, I've never had so much money in the business. What am I supposed to do with it? Like, it's time to take it out. And that is the question. That's how I know I've truly achieved success with that business owner. They ask that question. And what we do is we help them remove the cash from the business, at which point maybe they buy the office building. Acceptable. Maybe they fund retirement. Let's go have a little fun, right? We did this to enjoy life. Let's go have a little fun with that money. Maybe they invest in another business. That's okay. Maybe they do something else, but it's let's build reserves and cash flow outside our business, because businesses do fail or businesses do get wiped out because of technology or COVID, or as we get older, maybe we hit a health concern. And if that's the case, how do we survive without the business?
What's your view on the idea that business owners, when you're looking to grow and scale a business, are often the bottlenecks for businesses, because it's either no one can do it as well as me, or it's more of an idea that you need to be involved in every aspect. That step beyond startup, where they are looking to really push that business and grow that business, what do you think are the bottlenecks for business owners on that trajectory, that growth trajectory?
So when you first start your business, you might be a solopreneur, right? You're doing everything, you're working a certain way. As you grow your business, your role consistently changes.
Yeah.
You need different skill sets, you need different mindset. And so you've got to change those habits and how you behave. Now, business owner tells me there's nobody who can do it as well as me. You know what? I'm going to agree with you. Okay. But if you're running a 100-person business, you can't do 100 people's work. So we're going to have to accept that these people are going to do it 75% as well as you. And in certain parts of your business, especially the parts you hate or are not good at, someone's going to do it 150% better than you. As a matter of fact, just the other day, I shared something with someone and they go, oh, that looks horrible. I want you to redesign it. So I redesigned it and I looked at it and I go, that still looks like crap. So then I gave it to my assistant and said, can you make this look pretty? And it came back. I was like, wow, I could have never done that because that wasn't my skill set. They
Yep.
did a great job. I made some final tweaks to make it a little
Mm.
bit nicer for me, but I could have never done what they did. So I think that is a big part of it. The other thing is, especially, so I just had someone on my podcast and he talked about how these different parts evolve as you grow into a business owner. But he told me a story about sports. Can I share his story? It's
Of
not mine.
course.
It's a great story.
Yeah, go for it.
So this is based on American football, right?
Yep.
So you're the business owner. So essentially, you're the coach, right? Maybe.
Mm.
Or
Mm.
surely, if you're the business owner, you're sitting up in the skybox.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So here you are sitting in the skybox. You're at the Super Bowl because the Super Bowl just happened recently.
Yep.
You've got your people, your managers, they're making the plays. And so it's the end, towards the end of the game. It's fourth quarter, right? By the way, in football, you notice they have quarters just like we do in business. They
Yep.
have yard markers. They have markers to say how far we're doing. They have a
Yep.
scoreboard and a clock. Like most business owners don't always have that. We're at the end of the fourth quarter. Quarterback goes back to run the play, getting ready to throw the ball. You're up there in the business owner's box and you look down at the field and go, oh crap, the receiver's not there. No one's going to catch that ball. So now, as a business owner, what do? You run out of the box, you run down to the field, you get out there in the end zone, and you catch the ball. And you raise your hands and you go, look at what I did. And what does the entire stadium do? Look at you in shock. The referees are throwing flags. How often do we as business owners do this to our people?
Mm.
You need to stay in the owner's box. You need to let your people execute. You need to stop. Otherwise, you're not a business owner. And everyone's mad at you. And it's no wonder, because you didn't let them do what they're supposed to do.
At what point do you think you become the owner that's sitting in the skybox? I've spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners on this show, and they tell me, and my experience has been similar, is that it's not really until you start documenting what you do, what your business does, and that whole idea of systems and processes that you can lift and shift. If someone moves, if someone leaves, someone else comes in, and you've got the playbook, in essence, you've got the systems and processes. Do you agree with that? It's not really until that point that you can really take that step back?
I don't think that's the first step. I think that's the second step. The first step is you have to decide that I am going to be a business owner and not a business operator. So one of the things I've done in the past, we flipped houses.
Right.
Okay. I know how to use a saw. I know how to use a nail gun. I know how to do electric. I know how to paint. The number one rule we made when we started the business was I will not lift a hammer. Okay. I started the business as a business owner and I maintain the business as a business owner. So you've got to have the mindset to say, I am going to build a business, right? I'm going to be the business owner seat. I can hire somebody to write the playbook and they might do it better than me, just like my assistant did that piece better than me because that's what they're good at. So it's when you make the mental decision that I'm going to be the business owner, and that can be in the beginning. It can be at a certain revenue. So it can be anywhere along the spectrum.
Yeah.
Businesses are systems. You implement the system, the people run the system.
Yeah.
Right. So right behind me is Traction. That's a great business system. Okay.
It's a great book.
If I walk into McDonald's, it doesn't matter if I walk into McDonald's in my hometown, your hometown, or another country. Right? It is a system that literally anyone can work in and produce the results that we want. and get the results that we want from that system. And that's what they built. And there's no reason that people can't build systems around their business and let others do that. And the better the system, the more replicatable it is, and the better that it works, the less that you as the business owner needs to get involved. And here's the bottom line. You might make a great burger, but that's not what they're buying at McDonald's. They're buying a McDonald's burger.
It's the consistency. It's
Yeah.
having the same burger wherever you are. But I heard this thing, was it earlier this week or the end of last week? That whole idea of McDonald's, which I thought was absolutely fascinating. You're not going to McDonald's to buy a great burger.
Mm-mm.
You're going to McDonald's to buy a good burger, if not an average burger. Wherever you are, as you just said, wherever you are, you're going to get a decent burger. But if you want to get a great burger, McDonald's is not the place for you. But they've been able to get that corner of the market where there's the familiarity of the consumer that goes, I know I'm going to get a McDonald's burger rather than a great burger.
So let's face it, most people who go to McDonald's, they're time rushed or location rushed, meaning they're not in their hometown. So they don't know where they are. You're driving down the highway and it's time to eat. You pull into the shopping plaza and there's McDonald's and there's Bob's Burger Place. I know what I'm going to get at McDonald's. I know roughly what it's going to cost me. I know what it's going to taste like. Bob's Burger Place, I don't know what I'm going to get.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's going to taste. I don't know if it's going to take me half an hour and I've only got 10 minutes. I don't know what I'm going to get there. And so that's really what it comes down to, is it removes essentially the risk of walking into Bob's Burger Place and not knowing. People like consistency. And so they're going to go to McDonald's. But here's the real secret. Is McDonald's in the hamburger business?
It's a good question. No, I heard this thing previously, and I was on the Film Founders, that McDonald's is actually a real estate business. It's a property business.
It is. McDonald's owns prime real estate all over the world that they pay for by selling burgers.
Yeah.
And most people don't realize that. They think they're in the burger business. But where is your wealth? So here, let's talk about this, because this is a perfect transition. Wealth is found on the balance sheet, not in the P&L. And
Okay.
real estate is found on the balance sheet, right? And debt is found on the balance sheet. And so the burger place is paying off the debt on the balance sheet. Like that, honestly, here's this, people, this was like so eye-opening to me. You know what the easiest way to become a millionaire is?
You tell me.
Buy $1 million piece of property and pay it off. Right? That's what they did. And that's it. And yet, most business owners are too busy trying to make the perfect burger, trying to market the perfect burger. Should I put up a billboard 10 miles down the road so people know that I've got the perfect, best burger? You're missing the mark.
And is that the difference between a business? Because I heard this also about Uber. Uber, everyone thinks Uber is to do with taxis or cabs. And actually, it's the software. It's the app that is actually, it's a technology company, not necessarily a taxi company. It's interesting how a lot of these really big businesses, Facebook is another one, it's an advertising platform rather than a connecting people. Where is that realization for the business owner, the founder, that they actually need to pivot their business and still do what the core service is, but actually to create wealth and generational wealth, it's got to be done that way?
I don't think any of those people pivoted. I think they had that idea to begin with.
Oh,
right?
okay.
They built it with that concept in mind. I'm assuming that. I could be wrong, but Yeah, Uber doesn't own a single vehicle.
Mm,
They never have. They have those silly autonomous cars that they tried to
yeah.
build. And even then, they don't even own the cars. Uber actually owns nothing. They rent and lease everything. They don't believe in assets, which is why they took 15 years to be profitable, but that's a whole nother story. So I think you have to build it with that concept in mind of what is your end game and then work backwards. Now, some people accidentally stumble into it. Hey, that's cool too. You can stumble into stuff. That happens for many of us. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the other end of the spectrum is why don't we just build it intentionally so that we don't have to stumble into it?
We've talked about cash flow, but for me, cash flow is the lifeblood of business, especially when someone's looking to grow or scale a business. You need to make sure you've got cash flow in the business. What tips do you have for businesses that are trying to do that, and how they can demonstrate that they are, why this is important for business owners?
So one of the biggest reasons businesses fail, actually it's probably the biggest reason why businesses fail. They run out of cash.
Mm,
How many people actually project forward their cash? And that is not hard to do. And when you take the moment to think about it, it becomes very simple. So let me give you an example. Everybody wants to get into Costco. Okay. Let's say I'm selling a product into Costco because that's what I want to do. All of a sudden, my company was doing $1 million a year. Costco comes along and says, we'd like to buy $2 million a year product and put it in our shelf. Well, business owners are popping the champagne and having a party. Well, let's talk about that. In order to put your product into Costco, the first thing you have to do is make it. So now I'm ordering product to make. I have money going out for cost of goods. I got to pay people to assemble, produce, whatever it is. So I'm making product and I'm paying people to put it together in my location. In order to get that first order ready for Costco, it took me 60 days. And I paid all these people 60 days worth of money for that first order of, let's say, $500,000. So granted, it didn't cost me $500,000. Maybe it cost me 200,000 to produce it to sell to Costco. I'm out 200 grand. Now I ship it to Costco. That takes time. Finally shows up in Costco's distribution and it shows up on the shelf. Now we're 3 months out. I'm still out 200 grand, right? Costco hasn't paid me. They pay 90, 120 days, right? So another 45 days goes by. Costco calls me back and they go, your stuff is selling phenomenally. We want another order. Now I'm out another $250,000 for the next order. I'm out $500,000. I still haven't gotten paid. It's another 45, 60 days, 70 days when Costco's going to send me a check. And just about when they're about to send me that check for $500,000, they go, we need another round. So now I just spent another 250,000. I'm out 750. By the way, do you have 750 grand to do that? Okay. They just sent me a check for $500,000. I'm still on the negative. And what if that third order was actually for $1 million? Now I'm screwed cash flow because of I did this deal with Costco and I can't afford to pay them. And now how am I going to pay that bill? Where am I going to get the money? Or am I going to tell Costco, sorry, can't deliver?
mm.
That's not good. And if it
No,
doesn't sell, then they're going to return it to me.
yeah, it's an interesting idea because you do think signing up to the big supermarkets that they it's going to be the golden gateway to success. But it's an interesting concept because to be able, it's almost like you're skipping a step. So the growth of a business is incremental. It grows as it grows. And one of the things we were going to talk about is, and I think we've covered it a lot, is how growth can actually lead to failure in your business. And I think that's a prime example of that whole idea that overcommitting your business to certain orders, even if it is with the premium supermarket, can be a problem.
Well, let's take a step back and look at a business that grew and blew up because of that. And that is Peloton, right? COVID hits, the gym shut down, everyone's home, they order a Peloton. They thought people were going to buy Pelotons forever. No. You hit a blip. And they went out and they started building factories to keep up with this surge. And by the way, Peloton wasn't the only one. Nike did that. Everybody did, like all of these companies. And honestly, we were talking to our clients in 2020 with supply chain so tight. Everyone said, just order. Come 2021, we started saying, hey, let's start being careful. All of them said, oh no, we got to keep going. We got to keep going. 2022 comes and all of a sudden people stop buying stuff. And everyone was sitting on excess supply, 23, causing major issues. And they started building up for this big thing that they didn't realize it was just a wave. It wasn't consistently going to happen. And
the thing I think interesting about Peloton, because I saw this and I recognized it. The thing with Peloton is that, yes, there was a certain market period, and there is only a certain market of people that do want to exercise at home. You cannot, or most people will not upgrade their Peloton every 2 years, where Apple have been hugely successful. Every 2 years, people are buying a new phone, or people are buying a new iPad or a new laptop. But with the Peloton example, people are not going to upgrade as regularly as they will do with an Apple product.
Apple has built a following and a cult that I don't understand, because I'll be honest, I don't know if you can really tell me how much of a difference there is between an iPhone 11 or an iPhone 10 and an iPhone 15. Like, you look at the two side by side, does one do something the other doesn't? Well, okay, maybe one of them takes a better picture, but other than that, there's a difference in size, okay, but what does it really do? What additional value does that phone versus that phone actually provide? And I can't seem to find it. And I think that's why they're starting to falter, is because they've created nothing new. It's just it's a bigger wave. Yeah. That's all.
But their business is based on that repetition of purchasing. And you're absolutely right. With an Apple, they are struggling. With the Samsung, with other Android phones, people are struggling to keep that momentum, because there is nothing. I suppose the foldable phone is probably a step forward, but people haven't bought into that as much as they did with the iPhone in 2007. Some of the waves that you were talking for Peloton and Apple might be struggling now that they weren't for many years. But you do have to think about that as a business owner. You might get a really big order, but there might be economic conditions. You're an economist, so there could be macroeconomic conditions that actually slow the business down. What insight is forecasting? Probably the most important thing, because I've spoken to a lot of accountants, and they say, look, the bookkeeping's one thing. You do need to track what your orders were in the past, but actually the key factor for being able to grow a business is actually that forecasting and thinking what's going to happen in the next 12 months or 24 months. What's your thoughts on that?
It is, and that's a big part of what we do. The first thing I want to know is, what does your lead flow look like? Because if I know lead flow, I can tell when slowdowns are coming, right? Ahead of time. So if all of a sudden I start to see a consistent decline in lead flow, website visits, people walking in your front door, whatever it is, you're starting to go, oh, wait, things are slowing down. Most business owners are waiting till a month and a half after the cash register's rung, when the accountant sends a report that they don't look at, and then there's no money in the bank account, and all of a sudden it's a wake-up call. No, it's not a wake-up call. Your wake-up call was the fact that you were slowly losing volume of people interested 12 months ago. And that's happening. Or COVID caused a massive shock to the whole world. But you just have to understand that this is a shock. It's not reality. Things are going to go to a new normal. They might not go back to where they were, but they're going to settle into a new normal. And you can predict some of this stuff to a certain sense. And that's a big part of what we like to do for business owners. Let's predict what's going to happen instead of reacting.
And I've spoken to quite a lot of entrepreneurs on here that say perseverance, showing up, keeping the business going, you will strike gold. Like if you can get through that first 2 years of business and you keep showing up. A friend of mine was on relatively recently, and he said he built an algorithm for his business, and it took 7 years until he had perfected it, and now he's doing awesome with that product. What's your thoughts on perseverance and showing up in business ownership?
Make sure you have enough cash to survive 7 years.
Yeah.
Not everyone
That's
does.
it.
Most people starting a business are lucky if they've got 3 months of cash. And they all think, oh, I'm just going to build the algorithm. It'll take me 90 days. 7 years later.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's the biggest thing that business owners face is they think they've got the next $1 billion product, or it's going to take them 3 weeks. If it did, then everyone would be successful. These things take time. They take perseverance, and you need the cash to survive until that point. That's all. And it's not a big deal. It's just what it is. And if you don't have the cash, you're not going to survive.
So, Rocky, what's the plan for you for the next 2 to 5 years?
I built my business with the end in mind, and this is how I want it to run. I'm good with it. I significantly limit the amount of clients I can take because I want the other freedom, and I'm okay with that. And I enjoy what I do. So I want to be able to, I don't want to manage people. I don't want to build this big bit because that's not what I want to do. It's not fun for me. We have a handful of clients that we work with. We give white glove service. That's what I want. That's what I'm happy with. And that's what I'm going to continue to do.
Do you have an exit strategy, or is exit strategy retirement or death?
Retirement sucks. My exit strategy is health or death, or it could be grandkids.
Okay.
And honestly, even if I had grandkids, I think it would just shift the time stuff. I don't think it's going to shift. I still need to be able to do my things. And maybe it's okay. You work a little bit less than you're working now so that you have a little, or we get rid of things that I don't want to do anymore, or something changes where we shift our focus slightly. But no, I enjoy what I want to do. I'm excited. I don't care if it's Monday, Friday, Saturday. It's all the same day to me. I enjoy what I do. I'm going to continue to do it and have fun. And it took me a long time to get to this place, right? We also have the flexibility to say we don't want to do that, right? Our bank balance doesn't dictate our values. We're not going to make a decision because sales are down this month. No, so what? Sales are down this month. I'm going to keep doing what I enjoy and the way I do it. And I'm okay with that.
That's great. I think that's what I do think that's what every business owner wants, is the lifestyle that they want to enjoy, whether that is, in your case, a really great business that supports your lifestyle, or whether it's the empire builder that wants to sell for $1 trillion, and then in most cases they start another business or they do something else because who's going to retire at 35?
I don't have anything against that. But if you're going to be married to your business, then please don't marry someone else.
Yeah,
Your
yeah.
business will be your kids, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I thank the people who are willing to do that, but be clear on what you're doing. Warren Buffett has a horrible relationship with his wife and kids, so to speak. That's a choice. You make a choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we're coming to the end of the interview, Rocky. I asked the same 6 questions to all of my guests. They're quick fire questions. They don't need a quick fire answer. What's the best decision that you've made?
To start, how many people don't start? They dream their dream, but never actually take the first step. And I say that because I think a lot of the things I did in life, I waited way too long to start. You
Oh,
know, whether it was my
interesting.
real estate business, the business I'm in today, like I was playing with spreadsheets 40 years ago. And I wanted to build a business around the numbers, but I didn't know how. And it took forever to start.
What's the best piece of advice you've been given?
So I don't know that I don't even know where this came from, but the reason I built wealth is I automated my savings. And that's the principle of like when I learned about profit, first I'm like, oh, you're just automating your finances. That's what I did at 22 years old. I automated my savings. So all the money went first to savings. Whatever was left, I blew and had fun with. And I didn't think twice about it. I didn't even realize how powerful that was. But compounding works. And when you automate that, you can screw up a lot and you still become really successful.
Yeah. Who's helped you most in your career?
That's an interesting question. Who's helped me most? I So for a lot of my life, I've been thick-headed. So I think that's been a struggle. I'm not like if you ask me my favorite movie, I couldn't answer it. I'm not a one person answer. I think there's been so many people and so many books and so many things that got me from one step to the next step.
Right.
And they all seem to show up when I needed them at the appropriate time. That step appeared, that person appeared, that whatever that piece of knowledge or wisdom appeared at that moment from that. And I will say, I think one of the things, though, that I did learn as a kid was to be very clear in chasing money was not going to be the answer. There's nothing wrong with having money, but chasing money just for money's sake wasn't totally the answer. And I didn't believe it when I was young. So it took me a while to get the message.
So this isn't one of our questions, but I'm just interested. Did you or do you have coaches or mentors?
Oh, yeah. I've had lots of different coaches. I've had lots of different mentors. I belong to multiple mastermind groups.
Right.
Yeah. But is there one person in any of those?
No,
No,
sure.
but there's lots of people. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually in a different kind of coaching program right now where I actually have a group of coaches that are all in specific areas,
Okay.
but they all talk to each other because they all come out of the same program. So they're all
Right.
back and forth conversation about, hey, this came up. You're the guy to fix that, and you're the
Right.
woman to fix this. And so they all talk and they really help me. And then the mastermind group keeps me accountable and calls me out with for my BS. And I've got other mastermind groups that are designed to they're more specific. Hey, this is the knowledge we need to work on. And they're all in the same business space. So we're helping each other business knowledge so yeah,
Yeah.
there's tons of that. And Profit First gives me tons of support. I have another CFO group that gives me like I'm surrounded by
Right.
hundreds of people that I can pick up the phone and get the answer to the problem.
Amazing. Tell me about a regret that you have.
Not starting sooner. But at the same point, I will tell you this. I realized had I started sooner, I might have gotten hooked. And what I mean by hooked is I might have gotten off the true path of what I want because the money started coming and I got a little bit of golden handcuffs or something else to not have as much freedom as I truly wanted. And the reality is I could not have built the business I have today 20 years ago because Zoom did not exist, which means it would have been very hard. I would have had to work a lot harder. It would have just been different. Everything came together at this time for this kind of a business. I could have done real estate sooner. I could have done other things, but I spent my time also being a dad and being at all my kids' events and being there for them. And I wouldn't give that up for all the money in the world.
Yeah, I think that's great. What are you most proud of?
Honestly, I think it's being a good dad and being a good husband. So being there for my wife and for my kids. Because, I had this conversation earlier today. They were talking about legacy. And I was like, how many people are in the world? 7 billion. How many of them are going to remember you? The handful around you. So what are you doing with the handful around you? And my kids, I was there to coach all their events, show up at the majority of their things. It's funny because I was on a podcast with a local business owner and we know each other because our kids went to school since they were in kindergarten together. And she said to me, she goes, when I first met you, I didn't think you worked because you were always here with the kids. I was like, no, I made tons of money. I just made sure that my life was in alignment with what I wanted, back to where we started with harmony.
We've got another question after this, which is quite humorous, what you just said. We'll get to that. Why do you do what you do, as in fractional CFO work?
I absolutely love it. Like I started playing with spreadsheets when the first spreadsheets came out. It was called VisiCalc. Back when Steve Jobs came out with the Apple, one of the first programs was that. I was in high school walking in, showing how to accountants how to go from paper ledger to electronic spreadsheets. Everything on my life works on spreadsheets, whether it's the grocery list, Thanksgiving dinner, or our finances. Like everything is systems and processes and that. I didn't realize how valuable that skill was until much later in life. So I have fun. Like I look at a spreadsheet, it tells me a story. It shows me anomalies. It brings about questions. And I finally figured out the market fit for it. So I get paid to have fun.
Amazing. And this is why it might be amusing, because the last question of these is, what does legacy mean to you?
Honestly, the only people who are going to remember me when my wife and I are dead are probably my kids and maybe a handful of other people. That's where it comes. How do they treat their kids and how do they live their life? And did we show them how to do those things and how to be able to do that? And buildings are going to fall down and things get renamed, and at the end of the day, we all know who Thomas Edison is, but do you really care about him? No. Yeah.
Yeah, no, so true. And lastly, if people want to find out more about you or your business, where can they go?
So my website is Profit Comes First, and we have 2 podcasts. One is Profit Answer Man, where we literally teach how to do all of this. We share success stories from business owners of how to be more profitable. And then the other podcast is called Richer Soul. So the money's not going to make you happy. How do you build that ultimate life? And that's where we focus on that. By the way, can I ask your listeners a favor?
Yeah, go for it.
If you enjoyed what Mark has brought to you, there's a simple way to say thank you. You just hit the like button. Somewhere on there's a little bit of thing that you can show a little love. And if you really think someone else should listen to this or any other episode, go ahead and share it with them. Spread the love. That's legacy, right? Go help someone else.
Thank you, Rocky. That's a lovely way to end. And I would echo that. Please subscribe, like, share with your friends and family. That would be amazing. Not just for me, but equally for Rocky to get his message out. I know you do quite a lot of podcasts, and I'm very honored to have you on my show twice. It's been an absolute pleasure again, Rocky. You are truly an inspiration for me because I've chosen this lifestyle and this working pattern because I wanted to spend more time with my kids and be available to them and not be in central London for 12, 14 days and a day, 14 hours a day. Yeah, it's been really inspiring hearing your story, and it's been great speaking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure.
Thank you for listening to Business Growth Talks. This podcast is released every Monday, so don't miss an episode by subscribing to all podcast platforms, including Apple and Spotify. Have a great day.